Alright everybody, welcome back to Orange Clock Productions. This would be, I believe, episode number 3. Excuse the audio, I'm using the microphones on the camera and you're not going to be seeing much of me, but I'm going to go ahead and show you just kind of what I've done with mixing my drums and what I've used for mics and how I've achieved what I think at least is a good sound. This was before I owned my ribbon mics, so the second mic that I used on the kick drum was just a regular Shure SM57, but it actually came out really good, and that's what we're using for our demo. So I will play you the drum tracks because that's all I really have on my end, because we did the guitars elsewhere, and I also tried messing around with adding in samples and stuff, but I wasn't satisfied with that. I liked my own natural sounds, but you know, different people prefer different things. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start playing what I have, just so you can get an idea. So and that's just a, you know, before the song kicks in. So let me maybe turn it up a little bit. And if you hear, sometimes there's some miss hits in there because of the noise gate. But if I break it down, basically what I'll do here is I'll mute everything. We'll go ahead and mute everything except for the inside kick mic, okay? So this is the kick drum mic by itself, the Beta 52, the inside kick drum mic. Let me turn it up. And you can kind of hear the noise gate, but then watch what happens when I add in that 57. That when I add in that extra the 57 that I had on the outside of the bass drum. Watch what happens. Listen to how much better it actually sounds. I'm going to turn it on now. So, that mic, that's how it sounds by itself. The outside mic. So, but when you add them both together, kick. Of course, the guitar, none of the guitar tracks line up. Like I said, we didn't do any of the guitar tracks here, so, but basically in Cubase, what I ended up doing was I loaded up a preset. So like, for example, the regular bass drum, what I did was I went to inserts, or wait a minute, strip, and basically did a basic EQ, a basic kick drum EQ, and then I kind of messed with it myself in here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I mean, go get a little closer in there and angle the camera here. So I messed with the EQ myself, and the cool thing about Cubase, and I'm sure you can do the same thing in Pro Tools or most other softwares, is once you find something that you're happy with as far as an EQ, you can save your own settings. So, and then that means next time you come to record or do something, you can recall those settings. However, you might need to make adjustments depending, you know, if the mic's in a different spot, or you changed out a mic. Like recently, I'm using now a ribbon mic on for my second bass drum mic on the outside and on the hi-hats. So you need to take all that into consideration. But as far as I'm concerned, the law that governs sound design or sound production, whatever you want to call it, whatever sounds best wins. So I mean, there's no set rule on what you need to do or what needs to be done on how to mix. So if you take that into consideration, let me take the camera off of here and I'll show you. So in my jam room, I've been messing around a lot with different tom mics. Right now I got 57s on my toms. I'm really looking to get those there's a guy on YouTube, Spectre Sound Studios. He's really popular. He's got, like, you know, a ton of subscribers. He's really good at what he does. And his common tom mic that he used were the Sennheiser MD421s. And then he had bought these $200, they're $200 a piece, these CAD condenser mics. And there's a bunch of different settings on them and different things that you can do. And anyway, I noticed in his videos, like, those are his main tom mics now over the MD421s. So I'm looking actually into buying those CAD mics for my toms to complete my kit. So basically, on the bass drum, this is my setup. You know, I got the Beta 52 in the porthole, and then on the outside I got the ribbon mic at a 45-degree angle. Actually, it's a little kind of off because we just had like water leaking in here, and we had to have the damn basement resealed, and believe it or not, when it rains hard it still leaks, but that's beside the point. And the guy who drilled holes in the wall, he got dust all over my shit, so I had to clean my whole drum set, and I had to do a bunch of stuff. If I would have known, I would have got everything out of here, but he never said he had to do that. So, but anyway, this mic is off-centered. I gotta move it around a little bit to kind of, yeah, that's better. That's kind of how I like it. And then just, like I said, usually before I was using, like, for just the high toms, I only own 3 SM57s, so of course I got one on my snare drum, and I'm using one on each high tom. And then on the floor toms, I'm just using what I was using before, which is the PG56. They're entry-level mics. They work well, but you know, and then I got the kick drum on the big boy, the 18-inch. But I really want to upgrade mics. I just for my toms, and of course I got SM81s. For overheads, which I think sound fantastic for hard rock and heavy metal. They sound great for overheads, they really do. And I really love on the hi-hats, because I was using a PG81. Now this is a Stellar RE30, I believe, which is basically a Chinese-made, you know, cheaply made ribbon mic. It's a knockoff of the Royer 121, but I like it. You know, I couldn't pass up the deal. It was $200 for a pair of them, and they even come with shock mounts and everything like that. So, and my headphones, I'm using Sennheiser HD Pros. I really love these headphones. They sound really good. They give you really good isolation. Believe it or not, the kick drum pedal here is the first double bass pedal I ever owned in my life. I got it when I was 15 years old. So wow, that's 17 years ago. And if you look closely, you can kind of see, not on that one because I don't use that as much, but on this one there's like heel prints on it. That's how old this thing is and how much wear and tear it's had. But these pedals, I love it. They've done well for me. And I own the Pearl Demon drive, which is like a direct drive, and they claim, you know, it's got the longboards. I got it on longboard setting. That's at my practice spot at my guitar player's house. In my personal opinion, I don't believe it was worth the money. I could have spent $200-300 on a good kick drum pedal, because I'm not really into doing blast beats. I'm more of a rock and roll guy. I play heavy metal. I mean, I was in a heavy metal band for years, that's my setup. Coming back out here. So that's my basic setup that I use. Okay, so moving on to the snare drum. Let's solo that. So as you can hear, there's a gate on there, okay? Which you really need to do. I mean, you don't have to do it. If you're using less mics, you really don't. But if you're miking up everything like toms, kicks, snare, you're going to want to use a noise gate. Because otherwise you're going to have major bleed over and it's going to sound like a mess. It's not going to sound clean. It's going to sound very, it's just not going to sound good. So, like, for an example, if you listen to the snare by itself, okay, now let me turn off everything and you can hear it raw. That's raw. See how you can hear all the other drums with the one mic? That's with the EQ on. That's with that on. And then once I turn the gate on, which is in here, and the noise gate is in a thing called RoomWorks, which is basically, you know, like a plugin that comes with Cubase, and there's a bunch of different settings as far, I mean, there's like an endless amount of presets as far as noise gate and reverb and, you know, all that stuff. I'm actually in the wrong thing. I'm in the reverb one, but alright, here's the noise gate. And so you want to take the time and set the threshold. And what the threshold does here, if you roll it higher up, like so if you go this way with it, it's gonna cancel out noise below a certain decibel. And if you turn it up too high, you will miss hits to where the microphone won't turn on. So you want to make, it's really hard, it takes some time to get that down. And sometimes if you're a very dynamic drummer, when, like, for example, you hit harder at different times than others, it's going to make it even harder to set the gate. Sometimes you have to physically cut noise bleed out. And I've done that before. Or what you could do is take a sample of, like, maybe hit the snare drum hard maybe 10 times and take, you know, different samples to add in where it's not registering. So you know, there's many different things to do that, but I'm old school. I don't really believe in doing major edits and all that crap. It's just not really necessary. A take is a take, and if you're not a good enough musician to pull it off, then you need to practice. And this same thing goes on with me when playing a guitar, because I'm not really a guitar player, I'm a drummer. You know, I'll try to, you know, lay down an acoustic track, and, you know, sometimes I'll cheat, you know, cut and paste, but really, for the most part, I try to keep it natural and as relative as possible. So I'm gonna wrap up this video though. If there's any questions, you know, make a comment. Please click the subscribe button. That'd be a real help. I'm gonna keep pushing out videos. Sorry the production on this one wasn't as good. I'm using the mics on the camera and I've been, you know, moving around here and there. I'm not really gonna do big edits on this video, but I think next what I'm going to do is maybe overheads or toms, and we're going to try to get something good out of that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Expect a video soon. Over and out.